Hi, my name is Samir and I'm a medical student studying at University College London in the UK. Now, the reason I wanted to make this video is to give anyone who wants to get into the gym or lifting weights some advice on how you can build some muscle. Now, a little bit about my story. So, in August 2022, just before starting medical school, I decided to go all in with gym and stick to a consistent exercise routine. And I've been doing that for the past 2 years, and recently around August 2024, I took some progress pictures and I'm really just happy with the progress that I've had. And yeah, this video is just to give you some tips, some advice if you want to start out that journey. And I'm going to be splitting this video up into three sort of parts. Firstly, I'll go into the diet that you require. Secondly, the types of workouts and what you do in those workouts. And thirdly, just everything else. And I'll talk about that in a second. So first off, we're going to start with the diet, like I said. So the most important thing when you're trying to build and put on muscle is to make sure you are in a calorie surplus. So what exactly does this mean? So we'll start off with, first of all, calorie maintenance. Calorie maintenance is the number of calories equal to your total daily energy expenditure, which is, so when you're just naturally going about your day, you slept, you're walking, you're working, you're going to burn a set number of calories, the unit of energy per day. And the calorie maintenance is equal to that. So let's say if you were to eat the same as your calorie maintenance, you're not going to be putting on or losing much weight. You're pretty much going to be staying stagnant, staying the same. Now, it's important with the calorie surplus to eat around 300 to 500 calories more than the calorie maintenance to help you put on weight as muscle. Maybe a little bit of fat as well, but it will also be muscle, which is very important. Now, it's important to work out your actual calorie maintenance, and you can do that using a calculator, which factors in your sort of age, gender, your fitness activity, and your basal metabolic rate. It'll work that out for you, and then add kind of 300 to 500 calories on top of that. You can use sort of calorie tracking apps, which you can insert the food you've eaten, and it will tell you the number of calories that is. Use that to kind of track and make sure you're consistent with eating more calories than you're burning. That will help you put on the muscle. Another important thing is making sure you're targeting protein in your diet. Now, you can get protein from sources of meat, eggs, steak, nuts. You can look this up, but there's a lot of foods you can get good protein in, and that really helps with the whole muscle repair process. And when you're kind of tearing your muscle fibers, the protein helps rebuild them back even stronger. And you should roughly try and aim for around 1.2 grams to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So you can work that out and you can kind of track your protein as well. Now, lastly, it's important that you're drinking enough water as well to sustain yourself, to hydrate yourself, around 2 liters a day, maybe a little bit more. And yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the diet. Now, what's obviously very, very important is the actual workouts themselves. So in terms of how much you should try and go, in the past 2 years, I went around 3 to 5 times to the gym per week, and I kept that up pretty consistently. Now, in terms of how I would schedule it, so on one day, I would do chest, shoulders, and triceps. Second day, back and biceps. And the third day would be legs and then a core workout. And that is known as the push-pull legs split that quite a lot of gym goers do use. And in terms of how many exercises you should do, so it's recommended you do 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week. So if, for example, I'm talking about the back, I would be trying to do 10 to 20 sets of exercises for the back per week. Now, in terms of how many sets you should do, so let's say you want to do a certain exercise for your back, I would recommend you do 3 sets of 8 repetitions and try and make it so that you're picking a weight that is tough enough where you're almost hitting failure near the end of those 8 reps. There's a really important phenomenon called progressive overload, which is how you're going to essentially build muscle. And the way it works is when you're kind of close to failure on a certain exercise at the 8th or 7th rep, then the muscle fibers tear a little bit. And when they repair, they're meant to go slightly bigger, considering you're eating enough and in a calorie surplus, like I mentioned. So it's really important you train your muscles to failure. So get to a weight that is It's significantly high enough that you're nearly struggling to complete it by the end. But also make sure you don't go too overboard. You know, it's easy to kind of ego lift, as they say, and just put on too much weight, but really be consistent with your reps and try and do full reps. Don't try and rush it at all. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it in terms of workouts. The last point I want to mention is pretty much kind of everything else. Any other tips I can kind of think of, I'll just put in right now. Most importantly, the thing that comes to mind would have to be sleep. So make sure, and everyone kind of says to do this, but it's so true, make sure you're getting in 8 hours roughly of sleep, and try and keep it at the same set of times. So try and sleep at a certain time and wake up at a certain time, which is reasonable for you. And it's so important because not only does it help with that sort of rest and recovery period to help the muscles grow, but it just makes you feel like kind of energized when you actually get to the workout, which means you can push more in the actual workouts because you've got a nice deep sleep the night before. Another thing I did mention before, but keep on drinking water. Make sure you keep up with that. Always hydration is so important when it comes to your workouts. And another thing is you got to be really consistent with it. You know, results don't necessarily come too quickly. At the start, they do. If you just started out, you get kind of newbie gains, which mean you put on quite a bit of muscle to begin with. But for the majority of the process, it's quite a long waiting game. So just be consistent with it. If you want to go for it, kind of go all in and be consistent every single week. Keep up with your workouts. But one thing I would say is don't always try and force yourself. You know, pick a goal that is something worthwhile to you and challenging, but don't ever try and like force yourself. The most important thing here is to really enjoy the whole process, because you know there's a lot that comes with doing something like this. It's mentally there for you, physically you feel a lot better, builds you quite a lot of resilience and confidence, which is all amazing. But you know, there's not too much point, I would say, in just forcing yourself to go every single day if it's not something you enjoy. But overall, I would 100% recommend this whole process. And you know, just to give you some examples, like as soon as you go and have a workout, your body releases more dopamine, things like endorphins and endocannabinoids, which give you that sort of feel good factor whenever, if you've done some exercise and you feel a little bit good after, it's due to those chemicals working. And it's the exact same thing when you're weightlifting as well. So yeah, that is pretty much most of my advice for you in terms of starting your gym journey and building on muscle. I definitely did miss in terms of the workouts, specific exercises you can do. And if you know people want that, I can definitely do another video going more in depth into that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it from me. You know, I think this whole process, this whole journey has been amazing. And then looking at myself in the mirror and just feeling that extra confidence just makes it all worth it. And I've completely enjoyed the process the whole way. It's definitely something I plan to keep up, plan to keep doing. And it's very manageable to balance this alongside my studies. I found that, you know, sometimes I do have to push myself a little bit, but for the most part, I've really enjoyed balancing medicine and then taking breaks by going to the gym. So yeah, that is pretty much everything from me. Any questions, please feel free to put them down in the comments below. I really do appreciate also any feedback. And yeah, that's everything from me. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you soon.